Okay, so this is Stella and I'm here in Greece at the beach. It's pretty early in the morning, and today I just wanted to speak about the timeline of omnipotence. And you know, I got the message in a dream, everything will clear up on the beach. So here I am on the beach. The water is pretty calm. And anyway, timeline of omnipotence. Well, it's pretty simple. They all teach you that you are one with everything. Yes and no, of course, because all truth is paradoxical. Yes, we are all living creatures, animals, humans, it doesn't matter. But you are not one in consciousness. There will be a time probably when we're all gonna be one in consciousness, but since everybody's on a different level of consciousness, simultaneously, we have to get there, right? So it would mean that everybody knows what omnipotence is, that everybody is in the frequency of omnipotence. And what is the frequency of omnipotence? You know that everything is perfect just the way it is. You awaken to that truth. You know that nobody is lacking. Nobody, no matter what their circumstances are. Not even you. Even your human self might think in that sense, because that's the mind, that you're lacking something, but you never do. So you already know all that. You know that there are people and there are creatures and there are whatever who have predatory tendencies, which means they have, they don't have the best interest at their heart for you, but they have the best interest for themselves. So they are animal levels, they are, above. So everybody is experiencing their reality according to their level of consciousness. So there is nothing missing really in existence. It's actually pretty perfect. Actually it's just perfect. So we as an omnipotent beings, you just know you are really inherited, because it's in you, and you started remembering your God consciousness. And God consciousness is everybody deserves their so-called destiny, which they are always creating in the moment. And of course they are like sub-personality timelines, and then there are this overall omnipotence timeline. So until all of your sub-personalities are not cleansed and purged, plus pulled together, like all of you coming together after all of your soul fragments had been cleared and purged, understood, enlightened, meaning you shed some light and understanding on those things which was dark and not understood by you, about you, and all of that. And once you know yourself, you know everything will become an open book to you, all people, all those things. And at the same time, you have to keep your consciousness separate. While you are one, and you already know that you are one with it all, in that sense, but as you are here in a unique, specially created body, in this present incarnation, your consciousness is separate from the whole in that sense. And so basically, like last year I had this thing like, okay, I'm retired. And I said, okay, so what's the next step? And they said, well, back to balance, back to, everything, holding and pulling your whole self back together in this oneness of myself, of course, because I was fragmented. lifetimes after lifetimes, right? In different physical experiences, fragmented by traumas, really, really huge traumas that we all experienced in different lifetimes, like being killed, or you killed some people, whatever you were doing, we all were doing that. You were not an advanced soul, so you were doing all those things. And so basically, omnipotence is knowing that all is perfect, and you just have to stay self-aware. And being present means I'm present in myself. I know what's best for me, what feels best for me in that moment. And I don't do or go against or say against myself anything, but I stay present in myself, fully present in my body, because when I'm fully present in my body, and there's this little cute doggy there, when I'm fully present in my body, I sense things. Like, for example, I came to Greece, and I think the second day I went down to the beach, and I was laying in the sun, and then there was somebody started talking to me. So, and we had a great conversation, but after a while, and in the evening, I felt that something was burning in my aura. Whatever he was saying, and we also met for a tea later, and his truth was his truth, and my truth is my truth. And so my consciousness is my consciousness, as his consciousness is his consciousness. And we were apart. We were on, it seemed like we are on certain things we agree on, but of course we all have our different viewpoints, different things according to our own evolutionary process. And so I felt like I felt before that, like last year or whatever, and slowly but surely I was becoming more and more being in my body, because presently I was really clearing the mental space, dismantling the mental spheres which were distorted. So once I've done that, I visited my little astral realm, meaning my own little dark night of the soul, and being in the primal fear. I had to touch the primal fear, which is the fear of survival and fight or flight. And so basically after that, my body got really, really sensitive, even more sensitive than ever before. So I could sense when something is not in the vicinity of my frequency, really. Some parts might be, but not all of it. So then you have to choose if you're gonna join in on their timeline, or you're gonna stay on the timeline of omnipotence. And the timeline of omnipotence is the highest timeline, which you can create for yourself. And meaning some people still think they need to work for the money. They need to do this for the money. They need to do that for the money. Or they need to, manipulate people for, getting sex, or like there are those people who think they need to do this, they need to do that. And it's like this constant distortion. They are in their humanness. But after a while, you're basically gonna lose that part of the humanness. It's not that you're not gonna be humane. It has nothing got to do with that. But meaning, are you going to create on the level of one of your sub-personalities, which is one of your human parts, meaning, right? But eventually it's all gonna come together and it's gonna be all one. But since they are not in full consciousness, because like you're gonna talk to people and you will already know where they're at. It's like you, and then plus my body was feeling this very I don't know, how can I say this, not a dirty feeling, but it was like it does not match me. It's not compatible with me. It's not compatible with my consciousness. It's not compatible with my my whole beingness. And And then in the evening, at night, I did not sleep very well. So it's like, you have to be really selective. You have to be able to use discernment. And when for example, let's say you meet somebody and you think, oh, they could help me to do this or do that and whatever. And it's like you all of a sudden start going out of your integrity, because you start going into a subpersonality in your humanness, like meaning, okay, well, I could do business. And then you say, hey, but in the timeline of omnipotence, I don't fucking care for a business, because eventually, as an omnipotent being, you will know that everything creates a different kind of responsibility, and you have to know what your soul came to create. So when you are in the frequency of omnipotence, and if you came down here to create omnipotence, the power of omnipotence, and meaning the consciousness of omnipotence, the frequency of omnipotence, meaning join in on your God self and not expecting the God self join in on a sub-personality level, then you will know that this is why you came. And I'm telling you, the 144,000 came here to create the God consciousness within themselves, because you cannot create it in another person. They have to reach that level, and one day, one lifetime, whatever, they will do that for themselves. But us, who came here to create the God consciousness, we are creating from the inside out and not from the outside in, like the rest of the people, the rest of the world, on a lower level of consciousness. So, but they're exactly where they need to be. They don't need to know our truth. This is why we are putting it up on YouTube, because there is no point that you have those little individual pet projects that I used to have. And then I wanted to tell everybody, people even who were not ready. And so those are the things when you really come to a point where you just say, hey, listen, there are just so many things I'm not willing to explain. I'm not willing to go into it, because, you cannot explain God consciousness or the frequency of omnipotence to someone who has no basis to understand that. And although it could be that they are in the vicinity, but you know what? A lot of times I noticed that even when with my sub-personality, my consciousness that, would like to be close to people who are really on that level, eventually, when I talk to them longer, I discovered they were not even close. Some things they already know. Of course, everybody knows something, and some part of theirs is already there, but not really fully consciously, and not on the level of omnipotence. So first, they have to be ready in mentally, so they have to hit the plateau of understanding of omnipotence. So when you ask somebody what do they think of omnipotence, you will already know. And then before they touch the primal fear, they did not start to clear and cleanse the astral realm of it. I wrote about it before. It's on Facebook. You have to clear your fair share of astral realm, the part of it which you created with your low level of consciousness billions of years ago. Okay, we are all souls, and so whatever I've created at the first time of separation from myself, because this is what people don't understand either. It's like when I have fragmented myself, when I forgot that I was a god, meaning, I left myself, I distorted myself, I was untrue to myself, to my beingness, to my godhoodness. And then maybe because of somebody else, I have separated myself from me. Maybe I have, the first time I sacrificed myself because of love or because of whatever. Why? Because back then at the time, that was the first distortion, that we thought that happiness is outside of ourselves. So usually, what was the first thing that you've created? The first fragmentation was a love for for somebody else, and then you started leaving yourself behind, and that was the first thing. Many of you will meet those people in your life. They call it the twin flame. Well, basically that was your first love, which you have sacrificed everything for, and this was your first time of separation from yourself. So it will be like a really, really huge, it will be magnetic, and it will be at the same time you're pushing it away, because it's just, you left yourself for them the first time in your first form. Okay, so let me put it this way: not on earth, or maybe not on earth, maybe somewhere else, it doesn't matter. The main thing is the first time you have split your consciousness and had a trauma and fragmented yourself in that sense. And so this was the first fear, and then you got lost in the illusion. You got lost in this thing, to look for love outside of yourself. That was your first ever. It's like a primeval thing. It's like this ancient, very old timeline. And so you're gonna experience that timeline and the morphogenetic field of it, because it will bring up all the crap. Meaning it's not crap, because you have to go through it, you have to meet it in order to dissolve it. So basically it's just, figure of speech. But so the omnipotence frequency has another important factor. Now that you want to enter into the frequency and hold it and solidify the frequency of omnipotence, you basically have to see in the moment. And always keep asking yourself, am I creating, am I joining into a timeline of one of my sub-personalities and maybe another person outside of me with their belief system and with their stuff and whatever they think, and they think they know and they don't know. But at the time, that's what they believe. So this is what their frequency is. It contains a certain level of frequency and vibration. So each timeline is created with each choice in the moment. And you have to be constantly aware and be present in your body, because when you are present in your body, you will feel the discordance with another. Which, of course, you are all humans. We are all potential gods, right? Meaning, because if they did not realize that yet, and they are not vibrating at the level of omnipotence, they are not. They are just simply humans, and they are acting out their present sub-personality, one of their sub-personality. It doesn't matter. So their agenda does not matter, and it should not concern you. Whatever, because they actually don't know what they're doing, right? It's like they are still in the dream, they're still in the illusion phase, and they're still in certain belief systems and whatever. So their agenda should never be your worry or anything. What you have to be and stay in is in self, in yourself. So you have to ask yourself, very interesting. So before you start looking at them as a potential source of something, you really have to ask yourself, okay, am I sliding off to one of my sub-personalities that could or would have a tendency to maybe that part is not clear completely in me? And then, okay, so what is the frequency of omnipotence? And the frequency of omnipotence is nobody is lacking. I don't lack, so I don't really need them for anything. There is no need for anything. You can enjoy the moment, maybe have a nice conversation, but you also have to stay within yourself before you slide off and have maybe they have a strong influence because they're a very strong personality, and that they could take you away from your path. Okay, so basically they are not lacking. So no matter how much, I used to think that people are lacking in knowledge, and no, they are not. They exactly know what they need to know at that point and that time. I can state my own, how can I say? I can state my own knowing, my own truth, because this is what it is. We are, each and every one of us, on a different level of consciousness, which contains a certain level of truth for that, according to that level of consciousness. Basically, that is what it is. So this is what you need to know in every moment. Am I in my omnipotence frequency, or I started to slide off of it? So I have to bring me back. And so it's always like recentering. It's like centered by soul, centered by spirit. So I have to come back to my center and know that everything is perfect. If they are sick, they are perfectly okay, because they're just, whatever. That's where they're at. And this is their lesson. This is their opportunity to overcome certain fears or clear out certain things, and, all that. So, all that thing is just perfect for them. So, it's the same thing as you would say, like people were used to ask who were thinking in those God terms, being outside of themselves, right? And they said, yeah, but how could God see, and let these things happen? And this is exactly what you're going to become, because all of a sudden you're going to find yourself in that consciousness and say, because they all deserve what they get, because they learn through their experiments and experiences, and it's an experiment also, but it's an experience. So they will learn out of their experiences, and this is how they evolve their own spirit. This is their spiritual evolution. It's an opportunity. Life is a spiritual, an opportunity for spiritual evolution. So this is how they learn. And the funny thing is, because even when I, before I try to tell them things, and you see, the thing was, people started resisting, of course, because they were not ready for the truth. So basically, the funny thing is, we don't really do these individual path projects anymore, because we just let people be where they're at. We're not taking on their crap, because I had my own test and level of experience not to do those things anymore, because I kept doing that. And so eventually we're going to retire this old bodhisattva crap, which was like traditional stuff. And so it started raining. I think I'm going to be finishing up because my tablet will get wet. So kids, we're going to talk about this frequency of omnipotence. So the second part is coming, so look for it, okay? Well, we're going to come out today when it's not going to be this cloudy and windy. And anyway, so let's continue, okay? So it's going to be in the second part. Thank you for listening. Bye.